Alabama red hot. You could call them crimson red hot, perhaps, on the recruiting trail. That's Brian Smith, our Locked On Recruiting Insider here at the network, brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Brian, there were questions, I think fair ones, about Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama and what he'd be able to do on the trail. And last time I had you on, we were talking about how much success he was having. And now he's having even more success on the recruiting trail.
They have 14 commitments since early June. That's insane.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And they have, conservatively, half those kids are at least borderline top 100 to top 125 kids. A handful of them could be top 25 in the nation. And the most weird part about it, for the vast majority of these players, they're out of state. Like Alabama has always been a dominant in-state recruiting program. They're scattered all over the country. It's California, it's Pennsylvania, it's Texas. There's no rhyme or reason with their recruiting. It is really, really bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Cunningham and Ty Haywood are the latest five-star guys to commit, a wide receiver and an offensive tackle from Mississippi and Texas. And look, I look at where, Kalen DeBoer has been in his career. He's never been at a place that has the recruiting potential of Alabama, because Washington, you can recruit at a top 20 level at Washington. Can you recruit at a top 10 level consistently? Nobody has yet. And he didn't really put a ton of effort into the recruiting there, because he definitely did not maximize Washington's recruiting potential. He was a coach at Fresno State. Yeah, that's not a place where you're going to pull in a top 20 recruiting class, even though it's a really good Mountain West school. He's at Indiana as an OC. Yeah, again, not a big tier brand. So do you think that this is more reflective, this run of recruiting success, of what he actually is as a recruiter, or is it more just the Alabama brand is selling itself?
I think it's a little more of the latter, but he's getting a lot of offensive guys that are elite, and it's easy to sell what he's done too. So it's a nice combo. The key is a lot of the staff that he kept has ties to wherever they want to recruit, and they do their thing. He's a closer. He's the head coach. He doesn't have to go out and do the legwork, which that's the typical way it works. Now the question would be, can he finalize on a handful of the kids that he needs to beat Georgia for, or Clemson or Miami, some of those D linemen? That's the only thing left, like the elite D tackle kid. Everything else in the class, I know it's not the traditional way to do it. He's recruited out of state even more than Saban did, but still, it's amazing. I'm not sure that you're going to see anything like this for many other programs, if ever. It's truly amazing.
Other coaches or programs, fans certainly, might have looked at the DeBoer hire and thought, okay, here's an opportunity. Alabama is going to be, a shell of itself, or what's it going to be? Are there all these questions? I've seen Kalen DeBoer coach. He is something like 104-12 in the games that he has been a head coach. One of those losses being the national championship game against Michigan a season ago, and he just wins. I expect him to go into Tuscaloosa and win at least 9, if not 10 or 11 games this year, because he has a really talented roster that he had to kind of build up, but he has done so in the transfer portal because they've brought in players and they lost guys, but they've made really good replacements. I think they've got a talented quarterback. I'm interested to see how those two mesh, but should other fans look at Alabama and think, yeah, this is going to be basically the same as it was under Nick Saban in the recruiting era, or do you think there's still a slight difference?
I will not give him that nod, because they got all the elite defensive guys they needed. When I say elite, I'm talking about guys that weigh 300 pounds that every school in the country wanted, the elite of the elite. Right now, they're trailing on some of those guys with Georgia. Georgia's D-line class this year is going to be monumental, even by their standards, the way it's going. That's not good for anybody, Bama included. They're having the point out there. Everything else, it's kind of hard to argue with. The numbers are there on who they've got. They've got corners. They got their linebacker class is really good. They do have some defensive linemen that are good players. Now it's just finishing on that. Offensively, it's off the charts. There's nothing that you can say about it. And they still have a couple other guys on offense, by the way, they might get. It could be just sickening.
When you look at their latest commitments, offensive tackle Ty Haywood and five-star wideout Caleb Cunningham, what stands out the most to you with those two guys specifically? A lot of fans see 5 stars and think instant impact, and certainly 5 stars tend to have that capability on average more than everybody else. But Where do these guys fit into the timeline for Kalen DeBoer's program?
I would be surprised if Cunningham didn't play as a freshman. It's easier to play further away from where the ball is snapped than closer. Now, I'm not saying Ty couldn't play at tackle, but offensive tackle in the SEC is not friendly for freshmen. They might move him inside for a year. That's something Saban used to do, but I would think he's more likely to be a guy as a sophomore. And it's not like Alabama's short on linemen. They've got some pretty good ones. I also think that that's kind of the way it works with his offense. He finds ways to get the ball to playmakers. So any freshman they bring in, Cunningham or anybody else that's good, if they show themselves able to learn the offense, that's all that's going to matter, because the skills for some of these kids is ridiculous. Who learns the offense? That's a checkbox. The ones that do will play right away.
24/7 Sports rankings have Dijon Lee as the highest ranked defensive player that they have committed in the 2025 cycle. Do you think that will be the case by the time the second National Signing Day comes to a close in February?
That is a great question. It might be, because rankings changed. I've seen him play a few times. That is an elite player. I don't know if there'll be somebody better than him. Maybe somebody ranked, but it would be like 2 or 3 spots. It wouldn't be a big, like, they're not going to sign the number one defensive player necessarily. Again, watch out for Georgia there, but their defense class is still good. They just need more size. That's the only thing. Elite body, sure, but if Dijon Lee is your best defensive player, that's never a bad thing.
Their class on 24/7 currently ranks second in the country, behind only Ohio State, who have three of the top 5 defensive back commits in the entire country for the 2025 class. Like, they are just they're recruiting the heck out of their secondary there. But do you think Alabama could pull in the number one class in this 2025 cycle, and what would they have to do to make that jump?
They got to get one of the defensive players, another elite guy, but a Kylan Deere and some of the kids that they're still after, that's the key. There's going to be another offensive player or 2 that they get. This will go down as one of the best offensive classes that you're going to see. Again, they got kids from Pennsylvania, California, Texas, everywhere on their offense. Mississippi, they have went after the best. They did not care where they were from, and they've gotten them. Getting Keelan Russell, like the quarterback, that's key. He just won Elite 11. They've got a trigger man that really fits what they do. So it's going to be easy to tell kids, hey, you're going to play with this guy. So I think that will fuel them, and it will come down to a very close race. Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. I know you're surprised by that, Spencer. I know you're shocked.
I mean, I've never seen those schools recruit at this sort of level before, so it's mildly surprising. But you know what? Every now and then there are flashes in the pan. There are lightning in a bottle seasons. There are anomalies, and Alabama recruiting at top 5. I mean, it's basically TCU making the national championship game. We won't see it again for a very, very long time, quite obviously. Brian Smith, our Locked On Recruiting Insider here at the network, brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Brian, appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.